Right, so the other video that I made, this is going to be part 2 to continue of the video, as I accidentally pressed the volume button to cancel the video. As you can see here, I'm still in the same day, 27th of January, still Australia Day, a long weekend. This this is what's supposed to be like, a lot more festive. If you guys can imagine, in China will be a lot more people. Now I'll continue from the conversation there. So I did mention about working in the aged care and facility settings and how a gastro outbreak will be like. And we do our precautions, and we study all for this airborne, bloodborne, and how do we sanitize and how do we protect ourselves from all these infections, not getting infected, and how do you deal with them and things like that. Now I'm just sitting back and relaxing just for the time being, because I got work in half an hour, and it's great to make a video. Alright, let's do this. Now I have highly contagious, which I have in my lifetime, which is also before I continue this video, please watch the first part, because I think 18 minutes is pretty much for you guys can have a breakthrough and then watch another one. So I've suffered in last year 2 viral gastros and conjunctivitis. Now they are very highly contagious. I wasn't allowed to go back to work unless after 3 days my symptom has completely finished and provide a medical certificate. Now, could you imagine those who not in the health sector and will be like, and many who struggle, and as well as struggle to just reading my notes here, struggle to maintain the hygiene level. So I've learned how to do this hand wash. I'll probably have to do up the sky, so you guys, oh gosh, I don't know, is this the right way of doing it, so you guys can see it. Sorry, it's not a wide lens. So you have the soap, you put it in, and you got to wash it carefully, right? And the thumbs and your fingers, nails as well. And I don't think they quite understand what's it like to be in that setting. Alright, oh, they changed the whole thing. Sorry, I've changed the brightness back to normal. And also, I don't think they're aware of washing the clothes after being weared. And many of us health workers or caring workers, we cop the gastro easily. Could you imagine, on my previous video I did mention about I never experienced coronavirus or Ebola or SARS or any parts of these disease, but I do experience what's it feel like of having contagious symptoms of virus or this, and I have to be stay indoor, not able to work and things like that, and I'll talk more about it for that. Could you imagine those in China or parts of the world or expat wanting to leave, that there's an outbreak in the current setting of the world? We are not prepared for it, or have a facility to cope with the whole thing. As there's many video service online, how the facilities end up like, sorry to use this wording, but it's sort of like refugee camps. I know it's not the right word for me to say this. I know they are not refugee. I know they're very harsh, but just tent cities, alright? Let's just put it that way. So many expats or tourists finding a way to escape the environment, as we all, obviously we human beings, we're scared of death, alright? Or forking out medical bills, or maybe, not having a travel insurance, or travel insurance will not cover this area, or whatever the reasons. And plus you also have to realize your personal savings will dry up. As myself, as I told you about my story, I've been copped conjunctivitis once last year, 2 viral gastro. I was out of work for pretty much, I could say, a month and a half, more than a month and a half. I would say 2 months at least. And I remember I was going through my current job. For the job interview, I had conjunctivitis in my eyes. I couldn't see properly. I was tearing up right in front of the director of the manager, but I got the job, you know. Because I showed the commitment on what's like. So I'll show you guys with this. I know I don't have the permission, but they can see this. Um, and yeah, I know you have sick leave, but you don't have income. What is your, I was very lucky that I'm a single person who rented in a small room. But could you imagine those in China, or those expats or tourists or anyone who copped this coronavirus, to maintain their lifestyle, such as, mortgage, family, bills, or especially having kids, not able to go out the street or buying this and that. Like, I understand you have Uber Eats can deliver food and this and that, but it's not sustainable. You can't always do that 3 meals a day every single day, 360, like within 1 month or 2 weeks or 1 week. It's going to drain your money out. And not much people have money. And lastly but not least, and I will say why this outbreak will spread even worse, whereas right now Shanghai is locked down. Many big cities such as Guangzhou and Beijing will be the next on the list, even further, where people will go flood to another area and make sure they can survive and go on through it, so they have this toxicity. So that will be my father and my auntie. My father and my auntie will be a great example to show you guys, especially those who's coming from small cities or village, or in Chinese they always, if you're not part of from a big city, you're classified as nongchun. You're like pretty much your countryside man. Like you're a second class citizen basically. That's what it means. And my father wants to go to China on February because his holiday house in his hometown is complete building, and he wants to see finalize and give the final payment. That kind of understand, but I told my dad not to go. But you know what my dad says? I don't believe what the China or the government or the global problem. I just go there. I'm not scared of everything. And this sort of type of mentality has always ingrained a lot of the Chinese people. They like, this is what Chinese government do. Don't worry about the public issue. Worry about your personal issue. If it's public, it's public. Nothing got to do with you. But stories like bushfires in Australia, as you guys may know, the bushfire was pretty heavy hit in New South Wales, Sydney, and where I live right now, Melbourne. And it's a big hit as well. My dad didn't care at all. But you know what? You know what really cares for him? If one of those bushfires flamed his house, burned to ashes, that's when he knows. So what I'm trying to tell you, this analogy, is that many Chinese who not scared, who not believe, and sort of have this tribalism thinking, like my auntie as well, wanting to go to China just to get her teeth fixed. She's not scared of China, about this disease, this and that. Like, this is where why Chinese people are very successful or anything. They don't not care about anything. They just go, and whatever happens has happened to them. They do not care at all. But I'm telling you now, this is a lot worse, and many of the Chinese citizens who believe like that. Now, when I watch for a lot of YouTube channels, they do mention about big cities. They take really precaution and wearing a mask or gloves or whatever you call it. Where small cities or villages, they don't take caution. And this comes at the social norm, or what Chinese like to say, educated. Big cities are educated people, small cities are not educated. Or, you try to talk to the parents, or you try to talk to a family member, they'll never get their head mind up. They always believe in traditional belief, this and that. They believe they're superior, their body is great. They're up for ready for this whole thing because they've been eating all these luxurious herbals and medicine, and they have the best immune system. Honestly, they believe that they could handle this whole thing. But in reality, yes, it is true, but not when it comes to contagious virus or spread. of illness or something like that. So that's my finalize of the video. I could imagine this will be outbreak in the globe, as I mentioned on the part one, and oh well, it's going great, and having go through the whole thing, and it's just the fact that they're very stubborn. Chinese people are very, very stubborn to go through this whole thing. We never learned our lessons from SARS when we're still eating the same animals by doing that. You know, it's a funny thing. They say SARS is coming from bats. Now, I'm not going to deny Chinese people don't eat bats. They do eat everything. And the funny fact is that bats in Indonesia, they eat bats, but they know how to eat it properly. We never hear this sort of, this sort of craziness that hits in in Indonesia, or country who eats bats. But when it comes to China, I don't know, maybe lack of hygiene preparation, or perhaps on how to make it. They just cook on the spot, and they're being like pretenders and know how to cook everything. And I'm not talking down on Chinese people. I'm just saying that it's already happened 2003. Now this time the reports are talking about like bats and things like that, or snakes. This time it's coming from snakes. Man, if it's actually coming from snakes, there's so many Asian countries, or even Western, like even parts of America, eating snakes. Alright, I don't care how venomous you're talking about, but if they're eating snakes and have nuts, they're pretty fine of it. There is something wrong with China preparing the whole thing. That's why a lot of them talks about the hygiene level and this and that, and cooking and things like that. So that's another one area that I talk to you guys. What about there's really nothing much I can talk about it. Like people unfortunately where I'm living now, yesterday Australia Day, we eat barbecue. Lamb is our traditional day for Australia Day. And I felt sorry for those in China. They can't eat anything pretty much because they're scared of everything to eat. The only thing they can eat is pretty much fruits and and vegetables is the safest option. Like fish, I don't know, fish is the way to go. But if you guys start to think about, how are they going to buy groceries and things like that, trust me, their Uber Eats version in China is a lot more crazier than the one we have in Australia or Western world. They solely rely on online sales. So online sales will be booming over there if the workers are willing to work and not having this sickness. And I don't think they'll get spread easily unless if they collect the parcels and things like that, get on the car and driven around. I think they'll be alright. So I think China is alright when it comes to food, but there'll be a even higher demand on import on meat and food even than ever than before. And right now with China and America going this trade war, it looks like American goods or other countries' goods looks like America is losing out a lot of money on this time period of the years. So when I look at micro, macro and global structure, I really do look into very deep in this area, and I wish that this could be resolved. But plus China is currently in winter, so you're having flu, sickness, and people rushing to the hospital and not knowing do they have that symptom or not, and you're mixing with those who has coronavirus, and you end up with coronavirus. It's just too much going on. It's like what I mentioned when I work in the aged care, where I had gastro. Well, once I had gastro, then it spread to me, even though I had gloves and mouth mask and I have apron, and it still copped it on me, because areas that I gotta touch my locker room, or amenities rooms or things like that, I don't want you don't wash your hands when you touch the doorknobs or things like that. So that's about it, man. Crazy. That's the end of part 2.